we can see water dropping and take pictures. We can see waves in the ocean. Even on the micro scale, water is moving all the time. The molecules have vibration due to inner and outer forces. Therefore, I would even say that saying water is flat as the default position isn't true, because materials move all the time. Even solids have inner vibration that doesn't allow them to be perfectly flat. If we put water, we can put it in any container or any shape. Therefore, using water lays flat, therefore the shape is flat, doesn't mean anything by itself. We can also use calculation and test it and see how the curvature of the water in any tool or container that we put the water in will be so small that our eye could not be able to resolve it. And therefore, talking about water lays flat, again, has no meaning. Of course, water has curvature because it is impacted by gravity and converts to the shape of the Earth. Let's double check it. Water has no units. It tells us nothing about the shape. It cannot be a measuring tool. So if we want to have a discussion, a debate, we must stop using water as a tool. It doesn't provide us any output if it is flat or not. Bottom line, anyone using water to make claims about the shape of objects, like the flat Earth, is, of course, in my opinion, you can interact it, you can not agree with that, but I think this is simply comes from indoctrinated material from the flat Earth gurus, like some type of religion, because when I ask people, why do you say water lays flat when it is not? It is not really flat. This is all I get, rejection. Even if we talk about the tool level itself, it is only indication for the orientation of the tool. It doesn't give us any physical dimensions. And for a second, if we can talk about flatness and what it means in the context of a flat Earth. So flat is smooth and even. But when we design stuff or we look at stuff in reality, flatness has a rate that we can measure deriving from perfect things. To make things perfect, it will cost a lot of money and there is not always a use for it. So if we wanted to measure flatness of something, we would have to use a dial indicator and a plunger, or a digital version of it. There is a CMM, a bigger device that can go through the whole table and, for example, and tell us how flat the table is. And therefore, again, remove the idea of saying water lays flat. That's about it. This is my presentation. I just wanted to enrich your knowledge about this specific meme, and I think we can agree that we can remove this out of our conversation, and I'm open to hearing your opinions about it. Does someone want to come up?
If anybody wants to come on stage, raise your hand and I'll bring you up.
Steve, you've talked about water and understanding of water. Do you want to take a try at it?
Maybe I have a full agreement. I don't know. Did you encounter in this world of flat Earth this statement of water lays flat, therefore I know the object that I live upon, right? I don't know if I can ask the mods, but I think.
Okay, hold on a second. Steve wants to come up.
Okay.
I tried to bring him up, but it's not working.
Raise your hand again, Steve. Try again. Try raising your hand again. We had a.
Someone is saying that the stream was paused. What slides you didn't see? Did you saw all the slides?
I'm not sure. But anyway, Steve should be up here in a second.
Cause I can share. Can you see now the slides or can you not?
I don't see it. I see the stream is paused.
Okay, so what was the last slide that you saw? I maybe go through them quickly again for the sake of the point.
Why can I not move him to the stage?
I tried as well. It's not working.
Huh. Well, this is not great. So I'm going to invite you to speak, Steve. Put your hand down. Try putting your hand down. I've now invited you to speak. If you click on that, maybe it will bring you to the stage.
I think you didn't see half of my slides. What was the last slide? There was like 20 slides.
I don't know if we saw all of them or not. I'm sending the invite to speak. He should be able to click it. Okay, I'm going to try to inviting somebody else to speak as well and see if it's just a problem there.
Yeah, okay.
Bull Knight, I am inviting you to speak. Give it a shot. See if you can. Yeah, it worked for Bull Knight. Bull Knight, what did you do when I clicked invite to speak? What did you have to click on? Bull.
Oh, they moved the push to talk button when when it's a stage. There was a banner up top that showed up that had accept or decline.
Do you see? There we go. Okay.
There you go. Yeah. Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Yeah.
It says water can't be used as a measuring tool. Is that what you said?
Yeah. That's my idea because as you can see, can you see my presentation now?
Yeah, I didn't.
I'm sure.
I heard all of it, but you weren't working. I see now what FE people say. Yeah.
Do you want to quickly? I will review it quickly again, for the sake of the understanding, and then you will ask. Okay, so we will be on the same page.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Did you see this presentation?
I saw the beginning of it. It was working for a while, then it just quit working. So I don't know what
Okay.
when.
So quickly, just a second, Steve. So what do flat earthers say? Flat earthers say water lays flat. Therefore, I know the shape of the object that I live upon. Eric Dubay and many YouTubers, flat earthers, were talking about in his book. He wrote, "Water finds its level, but level on the Earth is impacted by gravity." I wanted to reduce this claim because this is the usual debunk, and just talk about water as being water and measuring tools. So we can see water by itself as a drop that we can see on any fabric will form into a shape, therefore it can curve. Another thing, inside the meme, there is the usual use of 70% of the Earth's surface is water, therefore I know the object, but 70% is calculated from knowing the radius of the Earth and the overall size and surface measurements, and we can reaffirm it from data from NASA and a geologic survey. Therefore, we know the 70%, but we know it because we know the globe. If we choose to claim flat Earth, we cannot use the 70% because we don't know where the edge is or if there is an edge. There I go to water isn't a measuring tool because, well, measuring tool must have a display, must have accuracy, must have units, must have reference point, okay? Something that I can reference to. I cannot reference water to water. And I must have a qualification method for measuring. A picture that water can actually bend and it can form to any shape. And if we really badly want to, we can measure the curvature of water when it is so-called lays flat. And finally, water has no units, says nothing about the shape because we can put water in any shape. And I think that's about it. I would be happy to hear your opinion.
Well, water levels are old as mankind, right? That's kind of undeniable.
Would you agree that any type of fluid is impacted by outside forces and inner forces, any material?
Oh, yeah.
So there is no real distinction when we talk about water or other fluids. So any fluid can bend. And I agree with you. In what we can see in a cup, in a sea, it would look flat to us. But it still has a small bend. Even if we don't take gravity into account, there are inner forces that vibrate the molecules and make it bendy. And we cannot measure the bendy to say it is really flat.
Yeah, the ocean's moving all the time for sure. But like water level.
Right. But why do you use water level to describe flat Earth?
Well, because they're so accurate. Like, are you familiar with a 100-foot hose and using that as a water level? You know how to do that? Because I can take a water hose, water level, 100-foot long, and I can put it on one corner of the building, say 5 feet above the ground, and I want to mark it around the corner, blindly walk around the corner with my water level, mark it on the place I can't even see, and that'll be the same height as my original point. So the water level is an accurate tool that they still use today. A lot of contractors.
Okay. So do you see my presentation?
I'm looking at it. Yeah, let me blow it up a little bit.
Yeah. So for this question exactly, I let me share it. Here we have a water level. The water level gives us only orientation. If we put it vertical, it will give us a vertical line, and if we put it horizontally, it will give us the horizontal orientation. Because the water level, the fluid, moves according to gravity, and it only tells us in that point what is going on. It doesn't have units of measuring for how a flat thing is. If we want to know how flat a certain thing is, in engineering, we take a tool that is called a dial indicator, and we go through a surface, usually a solid surface, because we want to see how flat the solid object, and we have a plunger coming out of it that tells us the diversion of how smooth this thing is. This is a device that can measure flatness. My claim is that water level doesn't provide us this accuracy.
Well, that might be a pretty accurate tool. I've never used one of those, but you could use the theodolite if you wanted to.
Right, but what does the meme say? The meme say water lays flat or water find its level. I'm trying to debunk only the idea of using water to measure anything.
I think the term is water at rest, lays level.
Okay, water at rest lays flavor. Still, it doesn't give us any indication about the shape of the thing that is containing the water, let's say. I can put it in a straight container. I can put it in a funny looking container. Okay? Like the picture that I'm sharing. I can. Why wouldn't you agree with me with this assumption?
I agree with you that it'll take the shape of the container. Exactly right.
Great. So do you think you will ever use water being level as evidence for the shape of the Earth?
Well, the shape of the Earth, water level. Well, it seems to appear that way. Yeah, because we use sea level a term called sea level, right?
The term called sea level. Okay.
And that's a point, a data point. That's just one data point, right?
Right, but in order to have advancement in our data points, we can test our data points and maybe falsify some of them. I'm coming with an open mind. I don't want to falsify all flat Earth. I just want to falsify this very common type of evidence meme that I hear all the time, and I just want people to go a little bit deeper than saying water flows flat in rest.
I don't think I could debunk water level at rest. I don't see. I don't think I can disprove that.
So I tried talking about the behavior of water in general and measuring devices. I showed you there is more devices, by the way, in engineering, but I showed you one device that is used for measuring flatness. Okay, we can agree that this plunger can give me the amount of spaces in the material that derives from the perfect shape that I want, which is called flatness in mechanical engineering.
No,
And
Which-
and
no. You're
Which-
not paying
well, what-
attention to all those liquids up there on the top in your picture. Look at the top part of those liquids. It's all horizontal, every one of them. That's that flat line we're looking for. We're not looking for the bottom of the
can
container.
we,
Look at the
Duma,
top
can
of
we,
all the liquids. They're horizontal. Can we agree on that?
I want to
Flat.
go one by one. Is
Yeah, look at the
Steve
picture.
done?
Yeah, one by one. Every container.
Just a second. Do you want? Oh, okay. What was the name of that tool you're using? I don't know if I'm familiar with it or even heard. What was the name? You got a name for that
Dial
tool?
indicator.
Dial indicator. Okay.
Yes. Or if we want to measure something big, like big
How
in
does
in the room, it's called CMM indicator.
How does it work? What's it working off of?
You have like a large robot that goes into coordinates that you pre-program, and it pushes on them and it checks how far it was pushed back, and then it knows how flat it was. If you look at my
So it's
picture,
kind of like an altimeter. Kind of describe an altimeter, right? Working off
no, again, you can look at my picture. There is like a pen sticking out. It is called plunger.
It's electronic, right? Electronic tool.
This specific device is totally mechanical. But we also have, yes,
Yeah,
we also
yeah,
have electronic devices in quality rooms and stuff like that.
Yeah, mechanicals though, right? Yeah, okay. So it's going to take a reading at one location, right? Is that what you're saying?
No.
And then how does it work?
So let me describe. Let's example, I want to ship a granite plate, and a granite plate is known for being very flat. So there is a standard for a granite plate, let's say 0.2 millimeters of flatness. Okay, you can see my mouse. Okay,
Yeah,
this is
that too will be extremely accurate. Yeah, I can see that.
so the engineer. Okay, let's say we want dimensions of 18 millimeter flatness. So we will have this derivation between the real sizes of below it a bit and over it a bit, and it will specify the flatness of the surface. Any material, okay? We are talking about solid right now. Solid is easier to measure because the inner forces in a solid, the vibration is small, but in fluids, the vibration is great. So you will have trouble measuring this way fluid, but is theoretically possible.
Yeah, this
But
tool. Well, I'm agreeing with you. This tool is extremely accurate. I can see that. Yeah, you're talking like millimeters or whatever you want to, however accurate it is. Yeah, it's working off of, but it's still working off of pressure, right? Mechanical.
Yeah.
That registers on the dial, then you can move it somewhere else, and it's going to give you the up or down.
Yes, I forgot to say, you must move this device through the whole surface, or the important points that you decided upon to do the quality check.
Right. That looks like an accurate tool.
Yeah, and you get the average measurement. But my point in showing this tool is that we have tools for the term flatness, and we can measure it if we really want to. Okay, like I would put this picture. Okay, we can calculate in those scales what water, how it would act. So in case you have a small glass, like few centimeters, it will be 0.0000 centimeters. Something you will never see in your eye. Even if you have a big lake, like kilometer, it will be something like 2 centimeters. But we as humans, in our eye, we cannot see that, and we cannot use water as a tool because we already know that we will have this mistake.
Yeah, when you get into the or super critical, yeah, I agree with you. But you're talking, what are you talking? 1,000, 10,000 of an inch? How much are you talking? Most people don't build anything that accurately.
Right. So therefore, when you were given the example, building a house, okay, and measuring 2 points in the room, you will have a straight line between those points in this distance. But when you need a bigger flatness, you will use another devices, and therefore I say water level is only good for small, let's say, construction, relatively, because this amount of mistake usually doesn't matter, and you can calibrate it. Even if you build an elevator in a shaft, you are allowed, because of gravity and the expansion of materials, you are allowed for 1 millimeter freedom between let's say the 2 points, and the elevator is like 6 meters. You're still allowed for this difference, because you can. It will be very hard to put a level. Even if you use a laser level, you will still have a difference, even in an important part like an elevator in a shaft of a house.
Yeah, right. I'm not disagreeing with you. You're talking about accuracy.
Yes.
Super accurate. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Looks like a pretty fancy engineering tool.
So would you agree with me when I say that people that use the meme of 70% of Earth's surface is water, therefore the shape of the Earth is flat, doesn't mean anything, and the use of it should be stopped.
Well, I can't agree with level as curve. So you think
Can
that
you
machine
agree
there-
about the 70% that comes from the globe model and not from our knowledge of the flat Earth?
Well, I guess you could say that. Yeah, you could say that your globe model tells us we have 70% of water. I got no idea how much it is, but it looks like that would be fairly close, I guess. 70% water. Yeah.
Because if we flatten the globe, we will have more percentage of water or something else. So at least if I can agree with some of the flat earthers that this meme doesn't make any sense, I did my part on that. Do you have any more questions, or you want, or someone
Well, you
else
can-
wants to?
Yeah, open up DMOG. You can or somebody else if you want to. I'll listen for a couple of minutes.
Sure, Omni. Omni, Essie, someone?
I have unmuted the Democ. Democ, you are unmuted, but you will have to go back and forth with this. So
Okay, we want to drop a drop of water, that same drop of water. We want to put it on a globe. Then we want to put a human next to it. Now, what's that look like if you're that human image? And what's that drop of water look like to you when you're standing there? How big is it?
A drop of water?
Yeah, the drop you use to prove your curve. The drop
I
of
will
water
not.
on a globe. What's it look like
I
compared to a human on the globe? We're going to take a look. Your
I
proof.
will not see. I will not see it because it will be splashed down. If I want to see it while I still stand next to it, I need someone to take a picture before it splashed, falls on the ground.
What do
It
you
will
mean
be
falls? It holds a
very
meniscus. It
small.
holds a little dot, right? A bead. Doesn't it hold a little pool right there where it sits? What are you talking about? Falls?
You're talking about just one drop or a few
Yeah,
drops, and I guess it will be splattened down, like
the
flat
drop of
on the
water.
ground.
It's the very drop of water you told Steve was your proof of water curving because of a globe. You said you had one drop of water on a ball. Now, how big of a building would that be? And when you stand next to it, how tall is it compared to you? That drop of water. Let's just discuss this real quick.
Real quick, in my whole presentation, I wasn't talking about the curve of the Earth. I was talking about water as a measuring tool.
Yeah, I know. We got a
Water
drop of
cannot
water.
provide me information about anything
Yeah,
in
drop
your
of
scenario.
water. We're using water, right? We're going to drop it on a ball. Now zoom in. And how big is that water to you? How
Do
many
you use
miles
it?
wide and tall?
Do you use the water with some type of container, or you just drop a water out of a device that drops exactly one drop?
I don't know what example you were talking about when you used a drop of water on a ball to prove your point. That's what we want to take a look at. So we want to imagine your drop of water on the ball if you can't really get one and drop it on there. I don't know why that's not possible. Then we want to see how big of a building a drop of water that is and why we won't walk up to the top of it ever. We'll walk up only to the bottom of that drop of water if it was the meniscus ball water you claimed. That doesn't happen anywhere. No one's got a bubble lake above their house sitting in their backyard. Doesn't happen.
Okay, so in my slide, if you can see the slide, I was giving example of different wides of a container that has water.
That's a cartoon. That's not water. Do you have real water with a
Okay,
cup? Put a whole bunch of cups on any curved surface and show us that the water doesn't spill out. Make sure to fill it all the way to the top to where your meniscus is present. We want to hold that meniscus where it's at. The same meniscus you're saying is going to prove earth curve. Prove that earth curve with your water meniscus. Let's go.
curvature of water's surface doesn't prove the Earth curve. I wasn't talking about the Earth
Water
curve.
doesn't curve on the surface. We're waiting for you to demonstrate that somewhere. I have a half cup of water. I have a million of them. Which curved surface can I put them on to where they're equidistant and equipotential to your gravity? Nowhere. Where's this at?
Again, if we take a container, let's say of 10 centimeters, for an
Why are you
example,
using a container? There's no container on the drop of water. Is there a container on that drop of water you dropped on that ball? My little guy standing there next to it, there's no container. Where is the
Okay,
container holding that
if
drop
there
of
is
water?
no okay, so remember in the beginning I said it
You
doesn't
dropped
matter
a
if
drop
it
of
is
water on a
water
ball.
or another
You
fluid.
put a real drop of water on the top of a ball. I'm looking at it right now. I did the same thing to match you. Now, where can we see this in real life?
When we want to measure stuff like fluids, we need to put them in.
We're gonna try to measure your Hill Lake. The meniscus drop of water you put on the ball doesn't have containers. It doesn't have pool walls. There's no little humans. There's no dirt trapped around it. It's sitting there on its own. You'll say that's due to gravity. Now you put that ball upside down, and in your imagination, that little bubble hump of water you just dropped on the ball is still going to stay exactly the way it is, not moving. Why would it move or go anywhere? It would stay right there, right? Lockstep like every other portion of water in my backyard. So now turn the water back around. You're back on the top now. Why do you need containers again? Welcome to Flat Earth. Flat Earth needs containment for water, not globes. Remember that. Drop of water with no container. Remember this, gravity. Gravity's your container, not
let
dirt.
me drop a sentence. Let me drop a sentence.
Okay, what's your container?
Not what my container. Again,
what's holding water for you on a ball?
simple logic. Okay. Let's forget about water for a second, Dumak.
No,
Let's forget
That's
about
your whole
water.
Point. So now, as soon as I ask you about water, and we're going to demonstrate that dirt needs to be water's container, there is no globe, there is no container for water like you just demonstrated with water droplets on a ball. There's no pool surrounding it, no four walls, no container. That's the thing you're
Dumak,
trying to demonstrate outside. Do you
I am not
understand?
trying to prove that the Earth is
What
a
is your
sphere.
point?
I'm trying to show that using water is not a measuring device. If we want to measure stuff, we need to use the right tools to measure them.
So. No, you're not going to use
If we
that
want
tool
to measure how much water do we have, we need to put them inside a container because they will split away.
Welcome to Flat Earth then. Then welcome to Flat Earth if you got to keep using Flat Earth containers. Gravity is not a container. It's a non-physical thing that holds stuff.
I didn't mention gravity right now.
Why do you have to use a container to manipulate water and not gravity? Why is gravity not manipulating that water?
Okay, even if you had a way to manipulate gravity, you still need to isolate the object that you're measuring. Okay? What are you measuring? You're measuring the
gravity affecting water. That's the very thing you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be showing that gravity affects water physically to make it curve. Now, the tool you represented up there up top, does that not work for water? The tool that presses down on metal, is that going to help you see how water's level or not? What
no,
tool you using
this
to see
tool
what water level is?
isn't accurate enough for
so that tool's
fluids.
inaccurate for
This
liquid.
is the whole point.
For liquid.
Fluids.
Gas and liquid. I want to measure the fucking validity of that. I want to know if gas and liquid curve. What tool are you using to
So
measure
you
the
can
topography?
measure it using something that is called SEM or TEM, which is a microscope that goes in the atomic level, and then we can measure those stuff.
The lake's
I
not
didn't
atomic.
draw them in
The
the
lake is not
presentation.
atomic. The lake is not an atomic level. Don't be fucking stupid. I
Okay,
tried to use the meniscus and you wouldn't allow it.
right. So we
The
were
drop of
talking
water.
about the lake. Okay, the
Yeah, it's a
lake,
big ass lake.
the
You're not going
lake,
to use no
the lake
microscope.
can be,
A
the lake
microscope's
can
not going to
be
help you, stupid.
in any container. Do you
A
agree with
container
me
is
that the
useless.
lake
Globers are
can
not
be?
supposed to use containers. Gravity is supposed to hold the water for you to do all your experiments into a curve, a wall, a hill, a hump, something.
Okay, water can be on top of any object,
In the side.
or for
It's
that
supposed to be
matter,
on the bottom.
any container.
It's supposed to
So
be
if
wrapped
we are
around.
using
The
water
water is supposed
as
to be wrapped around the
evidence
outside of the
for a
container,
shape,
top, middle, and bottom. The sides
if
too,
we are
brother. The globe has water on the side of it and the bottom. That means you're supposed to show water sticking to the side and the bottom of stuff. The side of a hill, the top of a hill.
yeah, can you strawman my presentation?
Yeah, we're
I'm
going to
not
steel man
sure.
globe water sticking to the side of a ball. 8,000 miles worth. You're a little microscopic guy. Are you 8,000 miles big? No, you're just looking for the little part that sticks sideways in the dirt, right? Holds itself there. You're looking for that drop of water that's horizontally based, not vertical.
Okay, again, if
You're
we
looking for the
put
drop of water that faces out towards the horizon and sticks to the wall next to you, the pile of dirt you're
Dumak,
standing on at the beach.
Dumak, let's focus.
Equipotential,
What you need to
equidistant,
show me is
equipotential, equidistant. We're going to prove.
how
We're
do
going to
you
prove
use
water can stick all around the dirt pile, every single portion of it, top, side, and bottom, evenly, and stay there.
how
We're going to
do
show
we use
equipotential and equidistant
water
water.
to
What's that
measure
mean?
something?
The Globers know how to demonstrate where the Earth is equidistant or equipotential to its self-curving.
Okay, Dumak, I don't feel you're trying to listen and respond. So if there's somebody else,
Well, you're not
I would
responding. You're
rather
containers for gravity.
move on.
Little glasses are
Uh,
not gravity. The
yeah,
dirt's not gravity. You're supposed to show gravity holding water. Where does this happen? What's it look like?
Dumak, you're invited to debate me about the shape of the Earth some other time.
You
Right
just said it's
now,
not about
we
the
are
shape. You said you're not trying to prove a globe. You have no point to the
right.
show. You just came here to ask dumb questions and make no fucking sense at all. Do you know how to measure water curving? Go stand next to it and show us where it starts, and then we'll go from there. It should continue more and more right where you stand.
Okay,
Do you have this
we
area?
don't need to measure the
You have
water
to, not a
to
need. It's
say
not a
that
need. It's a
wash.
have to. You have to. To make the claim, you have to. You have to prove it, feel it, measure it, touch it, be right next to it. Just like if I prove your window is 2 inches from your door, I'd put my life on it. And you could go get your little machine and zoom in, and I'd be so close, touching those two things together. They're actually physically touching. Now, what you guys want to do is zoom far away and say, I don't care about the wrongness of this measurement. See, because what McToon wants to do is calculate the difference between an inch of the end of the ruler, right? The end of the ruler, 12
Okay,
inches.
Omni, we can
He's got to
continue. I don't
calculate 12
see the
inches. He's not
relevance.
sure that's 12 inches. So when you measure something 12 inches, there's no margin of
Sorry,
error. But
Dumak,
McToon
we are
says,
not going to talk about
yeah,
the
but hold on.
hill
We're
and
looking for the
stuff
margin
like
of
that.
error. So the margin of error you guys say you have within 1 inch is a gazillion fucking miles, right? From the 1 inch line touching the piece of board, right? To 1 foot away touching the other foot. 12 inches
We are
away, you have the ruler.
literally
It's touching
trying to
both things.
agree upon something
Yeah,
simple
physical
and
measurements touching point A and B, what you guys don't like. What you guys want to do is ignore the fucking mount that there's a mess up, right? So you want to go 8,027 miles away and say you have some dumbass observation of something. There's no fucking measurement, no numbers in between, no side view, no little dots and markers we can see along the whole way to make sure you guys make any fucking sense. Why wouldn't you guys want to do this? And then you'd be done with the shit.
Yeah, okay, so you don't want to actually talk about the subject, which is a common meme and a common knowledge that is being used by Flat Earth and has no logic sense, and water isn't a measuring device. You don't want to give up this knowledge because you marry this knowledge, and exactly like I said, you're indoctrinated to repeating this knowledge because you don't have anything about the shape of the earth. If you want to debate the shape of the earth, I would be happily after or invite you to my channel. But right now, we are talking about this specific thing that you cannot simply agree, and I don't know why. Water
Facts are
cannot
facts. It's not an agreeing
be
thing. It's
a
not a religion.
measuring
It's
tool.
not about agreeing. It's about a fact. It's not a religion. We're not going to agree. It either
Okay.
is or isn't. It's
Omni,
curved or not.
can we
No agreeing.
move on?
Yeah, what are you trying to prove here?
Omni, SC, whatever.
Well, every time you use an example, I use your example. Now you guys don't want to use it. What example can you and I use to prove curve or not curve? What are we using? You guys don't want to do anything physical.
Right. So
Let
we
me get
have
in. Let me get in
tools.
for a minute because I gotta quit for supper soon. So you say that water cannot be used for measuring, right?
Yes.
Have
Only
you heard
for
of the
orientation.
precise? Right. Have you heard of the precise water level tool? If not, I will post it right now. Give me a second.
Yeah, that's a crazy statement. We don't use water for leveling.
We use water in the construction application to have straight enough line within this measurement. But when we build bigger, we use optical mechanics to measure the straightness or the flatness of something, which is more relevant. And again, I don't want to go into big tools or something like that. I can show you, no problem. But I'm just talking about the idea of water, okay, not fulfilling the conditions needed, and you can see in my slide, for a measuring device.
Well, that's just not an accurate statement. I mean, we all know we use water levels for leveling
Right.
material.
What did I just told you? You
You
use
said we don't use.
the
You
level
said we
device.
don't use water. You said we don't use water for leveling.
No, I said we use water level, okay, the level device, okay, in order to have a line which is close enough to being straight between 2 points in short distances. And I gave you the example of the elevator, which is 6 meters, and because we use the level, we get already an error which we use in other devices to check after the error isn't big enough. Okay, like
But you're
there
going to
is
a micro. You're going to micro scale. We understand that.
but I care about this scale. I care about
Did
the
you see
scale.
what I posted? This will solve everything. Did you see what I posted?
Well,
Go to OmniText.
okay.
Maybe you should put it up for the audience to see. The precise water measure, it measures the accuracy of up to 0.0005 inches.
It's pretty accurate.
So your idea of not being able to use water, I mean, just got blown out of the water just by that one device.
Nope. But I can open the device on my screen just for the sake of the argument.
Okay, so Anvil wants to speak. Should I bring him up?
Yeah, of course.
No, I want to open it and to show you what is it used. I can't see.
You said
the
it
graph.
can't, and I just showed you a tool that is very, very, very accurate.
Again, this tool, okay, can provide you a straight line, the orientation, which is good enough, maybe because if you put it, yes, you have a cable connecting it, so you will connect 2 points with a fluid, and you will be able to use it. I don't know in what distance, okay? But in the general scheme of things, we don't use fluids as measuring tools for stuff. Okay, this is very special case that doesn't help you with stuff like lakes, or doesn't even help you with a simple concept that you wanted to tell you something about the shape of the earth. It doesn't give you something about the shape of the earth. It doesn't.
Didn't you just say you're not talking the shape of the earth? Didn't you just tell DMOC that you're not talking about the shape of the earth?
I am talking about the meme. Okay, the meme.
Right, but I provided you with a tool that you said is not possible. So, I mean,
I didn't say this tool was impossible. I said nobody, okay, when saying the words flat earth, okay, or water lays flat, takes this tool to define how flat is the water. Okay?
now you're changing the story. You said you cannot use water to measure. Isn't that what you said? Word for word. Yes, SC, that's what I said. So now I proved you wrong. I showed you that you can.
No. Essie, you didn't prove anything.
We'll let the audience be the judge of that.
I'm showing this device. Again, the device doesn't give us a
We
result.
can't see it. If you're showing it, we can't see it on the screen. It says stream paused.
Ah, okay. Let me find this product exactly.
Loading.
An indication.
Do you have the direct link of this product maybe?
I have a PDF file, but you can easily Google that. Easily find it.
What is it, Essie?
It's a water measuring thing. It's like a water level, and you can measure. It's not line of sight, of course. You can measure like with the accuracy of 0.005 inches. It's very, very precise. They use it to level like printers and like stuff like that.
Yes, you can do quality check, okay, the same way as you can use micrometer or you can use the dial gauge. Okay, I accept that you can use a special tool, okay, to get the amount of relative level between two planes using water between them.
Okay, as long
Still,
as you admit it.
it is
Yep.
not flatness.
Now you're changing and now you're moving the globe post.
No, saying water lays flat means that you use the water, okay, in nature as it is to spot out how flat something is. This is the issue.
Yeah, but your original statement that you cannot use water to measure, that was incorrect. You're bowing down to that, right?
What if I make an observation?
Not now. Let him answer. You can go next.
Okay.
I was talking specifically about what people say in the flat earth community and how it helps them to know the shape, okay, of something. I said water isn't a measuring tool for flatness or the shape of the object. That is, I even added here, even the shape of the object. Again, in this system, it doesn't do what you think it is doing.
So you don't want to admit it. Okay, fine. We'll let the audience be the judge of what you said and
Which
what
is
I
fine.
showed.
Which is fine. And I don't know why it isn't showing.
I go.
Try again.
The question I had for you
One more
there.
second. You posted? I think you got it there. I just want everybody to see what I'm talking about. Well, they can see an OmniText.
I did show it on my part, but
all right, I'm happy with that. Go ahead, Professor.
Okay. The device doesn't measure. It indicates that two things are at the same level. Now, the degree of accuracy is affected by a number of different factors, but one of them is pressure at each end. If for whatever reason you've got a higher pressure at one end than the other, it will not demonstrate level. That will happen, of course, if it's very long. You've got weather at one end and a different weather at the other end, because we know that atmospheric pressure changes over, some distances occasionally. But in any case, what it does is it just shows a common reference that says that essentially they are at the same level. It doesn't measure level, not in the way that he means. I think measurement.
there is no.
It doesn't tell you how level it is. It doesn't tell you how flat it is. It just tells you that the both ends are at the same, essentially level of elevation. And that
Can I, Professor?
it's just an indicator, not a measuring tool. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what you were trying to say.
What does same level of elevation mean? Curve or
Wait a second, Dumak. I want to clarify
There's
this.
no way to know.
Okay.
We are.
I want to clarify something, okay? Part of the demands for a measuring tool is having an output, okay? So I will have a number of how flat something is, like I demand on my drawing or something. And this doesn't fit my qualification as a device for that. This maybe has some type of use in the construction industry, but as far as I see in the PDF, I don't have a number of how flatness something is.
So what are we proving? Horizontal, level, straight, curved, arc, or equipotential, equidistant? Which actual physical attribute are we proving here?
We don't prove anything. We falsified the concept that we can use water as evidence that is
a concept?
acceptable by science, for making a claim about the shape of an object. I cannot put water in a glass and tell you what is the
Flat's
shape
not a
of
shape.
the glass.
Flat's not a shape. Flat is the top portion based on elevation and the reference of horizontal. So you base elevation from the top or the bottom of a horizontal line. That horizontal line of anything will be your up and down. That's where you reference your up and down from, not center of gravity. And that's what you that's what you represent your height from too. So when I go to measure my height vertically, I go from my feet to my head. I don't go from the center of gravity. No one's ever done that, and that's not how this works. So if someone could please show me any object curving equipotential and equidistant, and please show me what that looks like, because without that, you haven't falsified shit. You can't even falsify that you have that.
Are you done complaining about something that we
No, we're
weren't
looking
talking
for
about?
equipotential, equidistant, any glober out there. Please
Equidistant?
help this gentleman find out which cups of water, which hill in your backyard matches gravity and earth curve. Please, it's got to be in somebody's hill somewhere on this earth. The earth has to be itself. Help it find itself.
Why can we not agree about simple concepts like
Because I'm trying to
if we
prove what
don't
something is and you're not. You don't want to prove nothing. You want to talk about concepts. Nobody cares about your ideas and your religious beliefs. We don't care about what you believe stuff does. We understand water, horizontal, straight, level, vertical. Vertical is not horizontal. In your imaginary world, vertical and horizontal are the same two fucking dots. I put a dot on the ground. That's vertical, horizontal for you. Do Globers even understand this? Do you understand
what
this?
is what
Nobody know
is
you can't demonstrate your vertical horizontal being equal anywhere. We're looking for equipotential from the center of gravity to where we stand. We're looking for this earth curve to exist somewhere. We're the smallest microscopic observers of this fucking thing that are going to measure it. We are it. There is no other humans, there is no other processor of information going to figure this out for you. So if you can't stand on the curve and say this is the earth curve and it's the earth somewhere on the earth has to be the earth curve that you can stand on and say, I stand on that. This is where we draw the line. This is the earth curve. It is not a horizontal line.
okay, bro? Whatever you say. Does anyone else have any questions regarding the topic?
We'll do one more thing because I got to stop for supper. Let me get your idea what level is. So you know what a spirit level is, right?
Yeah.
Question: is one point of the spirit level higher than the other? When you achieve level, right? You look at the bubble and you achieve level. Is one part of the spirit level higher than the other?
If you're asking about the device itself, even without putting it or using it, it is not perfectly level, or what we would call as flatness. Because what matters in devices or measuring is not level. We don't have any engineering drawing that says how level I want something. I want something either straight or flat to derive. What we do is we describe the geometry properties of something. And therefore, the spirit level can only tell us that exact point is being a plumb to gravity.
That's not what I asked. I asked.
I told you your device, if you pick any point beside the bubble, it is not straight with the bubble, which means it is not level.
So everybody heard that, right? A spirit level, when level, is not level.
When you use
They
the
claim
spirit
diagonal.
level, Dumak, let me finish. when you use the spirit level, your use of this device is only for the bubble to create good enough straight line that you can pull, or you can, I don't know, point, okay, and then point another point, but it will be not equal, okay? If you really check it, your device isn't perfectly flat. It is good enough that you even pull up your pen a bit. It is not level, okay? It is not converting to gravity, the other points.
Amazing. Yeah. I kind of thought you would say that. So if one more question, then I got to go for supper. So if we were to take this spirit level, put it on a table, and achieve level according to the spirit level, and we were to drop a glass of water on that table, what would happen to the water? Will it roll off, or would it stay on the table?
I'm sorry, can you ask again? You're taking water and you do what with the water?
First of all, you get a small table and you achieve level with it using the spirit level. Then you take a glass of water and you pour it in the center gently in the center of the table. What would happen to that water?
So your table isn't perfectly flat from the start. Therefore, your water will spread around depend on how smooth or having bumps the table is.
Now the question is, will it roll off, or will it not roll off the table?
Let's assume that
Will
your
it settle?
table is relatively flat. It will eventually roll off. But if you don't have enough water, the inner connections between the molecules could have saved them on the table, because on the micro scale, which you can use the dial to test, it will stop in some stage because there is a bigger molecule out of your table. If it was like a perfect granite kitchen, I would guess 90% it would roll off the table.
It would roll off. You heard it. You heard it, everybody. I dropped my case. I don't think anything else needs to be said
Yeah,
after
but
that.
their version can't be scaled
What
up. And
about you spilling water
Effie,
on the table?
Yeah, hold on. You're
Okay.
talking about a diagonal. They just told you the table was diagonal. You know when you play Connect Four and you got to line the little things up diagonally from corner to corner? That's what they're describing a curve is to you. They're saying it's a horizontal, flat, diagonal curve line.
Where he said diagonal? He said
You did a
he
slope.
said
You mentioned
he
the
said
slope where
he
water
said
rolls.
he said
A change of
he
rate.
said
That's a change
he
of rate
said
you
a
just mentioned,
level
right?
table. He said
If
a
it settles
level
on the table, stop talking. If it settles on the table, it's a non-change of rate
No,
of
you
slope.
stop talking, Dumak.
If
I
it
don't want to
rolls
hear
off the
you.
table,
This
you're
is
not
my
making no
event.
sense.
I'm
If it
sorry.
rolls off the table, it's a change of rate of slope. Why are you lying about this? Why are
Okay,
you lying
so
about the simple fact, the rate of slope? What is the
So Dimok, it is his event, which means he gets some precedent in moderating.
so I understood from Messi that the table is level. Okay, he used the leveling device to put it in the middle of the table, and relatively he saw the bubble not moving in the center of the table. Then he said, I spilled water on the table. And I said, what could happen in a few cases depends on how much water. And therefore, Essie, you have another question, or is it good enough?
No, it's not. No, you said it would roll off. You said the water, if it was on a granite table, it would roll off if the granite was level. That's what you said.
think he probably meant if there's
I
sufficient
cannot
water.
know this for sure. I said I assume in some cases, if you spill enough water, it will roll off because level means converting to the force of gravity. So why not? When you spill water on your table, doesn't it roll off sometimes? Who
No,
cares
not my
that?
table. My tables are level. If I spill just the glass, it'll just pile up in the center. It wouldn't roll off.
Again,
Like I said, sorry, M agent. This depends on the amount of water, does it not? I mean, you're
Yeah, I
thinking about
specified.
two different
I
cases. If you have a
specified.
small amount of water, it's just going to create a puddle, which will, by the way, have curved edges. And the, if you put more water until it gets as far as the edge, and then eventually overflows, then naturally it's going to fall off, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you want
nice
to
try, but
specify to him:
that's
are you talking about a relatively small amount of water that will create a puddle? Will that slide off it or not? Or if that's what you meant, then we can ask that specific question. Is if you have a small amount of water that's spilt on the table, not so much that it will flow all the way to the edge, just enough to create a puddle, will that puddle somehow slide off, or will it stay in place? I think that's what you were wanting to ask.
well, that was pretty clear. I think you're the only one that maybe did not understand. Yeah, I said a glass
Well,
of
clearly
water.
he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have his
okay.
glass.
Maybe you weren't listening. Yeah.
Oh, may I have his
I
glass?
think
Pretty big
sorry,
ones here.
Professor, just a second. I think I covered both cases, even rare cases that depends on the flatness of the table. So the next thing that I want to do is to ask you, Essie, does water tell you anything about the shape of the table?
No.
So why would you, as a flat earther, put a meme that says 70% of the earth is water, therefore it is flat?
I didn't put that meme. Don't associate other people's stuff with me. I asked you a very
Okay, so
specific question,
you never
and
use
you
this
think
meme?
that a level table, a perfectly labeled table, level table, you think water would roll off of it.
Okay, you're trying to do a catch here. You got an answer, and you're avoiding talking about the actual topic, which is using water to make claims about the shape of an object.
Hello.
What? Wait, JC. Can you agree on this matter that water alone cannot be used as evidence for a scientific debate about the shape of an object, not even Earth, just an object?
No, I can prove you that statement wrong as well. If you put,
I gave you 20
hold
slides
on, bro, don't get triggered.
right now.
Don't get triggered. If you put water in a glass and you freeze it, and then you take it out, will that tell you anything about the shape of the glass?
No.
You didn't think of that one, did you?
No.
No, huh? Okay.
No. Because no meme says I froze all the water on the earth or on an object, and therefore I know what the shape is.
Well, your problem is you're not talking with a meme, you're talking with me.
I'm talking with a person that tries to avoid the actual point by diverting and changing the fact that water as a fluid isn't used as a measuring device.
I proved you wrong on that too. I showed you the precise water measure. Now, if you don't want to accept that, it's up to you. But I posted it to you, and everybody could make up their mind on their own.
Right, you're entitled to incredulity and you're entitled to disagreement. It only shows how badly you were indoctrinated, which is my claim, and you cannot escape the pattern thinking that you are stuck in it. This is all
What do
we
they
get.
say? What do
Which
they
is
say
fine.
about in a debate when somebody uses an insult? What do they say? You lose.
I only have
No,
a minute. Can I
I can use an
I made it. Come
insult.
on. Okay.
Yeah, let's hear. Can you fix your audio, please, before you ask?
Sure.
Heading off for a while. Bye for now.
Thank you, Professor.
Mic check.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, so mean sea level is an average, the height of the waterline surface. In all practical application, you treat that as a horizontal plane. All measurements of elevation are above that benchmark, which you are treating as a horizontal plane. Not only is it practical to treat water as a horizontal plane, it looks like a horizontal plane. It is a horizontal plane. It might as well be a horizontal plane. Anytime you want to measure elevation, you need a horizontal plane. So why not just
So
consider
cute. So
that it is-
cute, Jess. Okay.
What?
I just don't want a long range. When you say something looks like, it is not using a device. Okay? In real life, it doesn't matter the model right now, we use devices that we can calibrate, we can test, and we can get an actual output out of them. Like saying, this looks flat to me, doesn't mean it is flat. You need to show me how do you use water to determine how flat something is or how it says something about the object it is.
No, we use water to help us determine the flatness of things. Like you use it to reference as a horizontal plane. This is how you measure a change in elevation. You need a level reference. Typically, you're going to use water because it's great application as a horizontal plane. Maybe because it is a horizontal plane.
Right. We actually agree. Okay? Water level that is used for leveling doesn't give us any physical dimensions of something. It gives us the orientation of something. Orientation isn't enough information to be considered a measuring tool. I'm showing right now on screen the spirit level and the bubble. Again, it gives us good enough line between 2 points in a short distance, which is great. But in real life application, it is still not a measuring tool. You
Oh
hear
wow,
me?
water level is not a measuring tool. Okay,
Water
dude.
level is
Well,
not a measuring tool.
I'm not interested in that pseudoscience.
What do you measure with the measuring with water level?
You're creating a horizontal plane reference to measure change in elevation.
Would it help you to go over
You need a
the
reference, it's a benchmark.
requirements of a measuring tool?
You need something to reference as a benchmark to know the distance and the length and the change in elevation.
Do you see my stream?
That's all, my friend. Water's practically treated as flat because it is flat. Peace.
Thank you for your indoctrination, bro. Another one, Nodumak. It is fine if Glober wants to say something. I'm up for it as well. To criticism. Maybe someone doesn't agree with me with the globe side. I'm also open to it. I do hope I showed you another way of approaching this type of thinking. We have some guys. We have Matthias. We have Lash. You agree with me? You don't want to ask questions? Eric Dubé says water lays flat. Therefore, the Earth is flat.
Well, I think we've done pretty well there.
Yeah, I don't know what you think. It was kind of original, at least.
Yeah, no, I think, you know, I mean, it's going to be hit and miss, but you know, with how many people we get and stuff, we need to find a better way of advertising these things. But you know, I think it's good. You know, we can do a follow up or whatever else. Maybe some flat earther can do a you know, how water proves
No,
the flat earth flat.
I think there is more type of evidence to debunk in a simpler ways. But
Sure.
I think that using water is like the first thing that I heard, and the most common thing that you can hear in this space. Like you can even hear Steve here.
Well, I saw Star Wars, and when those TIE fighters fired their lasers, I could hear them. I mean, you know, it all depends on what your grip on reality is like, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of critical. I've never seen water not lay flat and level. Kind of weird. Now, if you're talking about the ocean, it moves, so you know you might have a little different argument there. But
the thing is, if we talk about the material science and about object, there is no still object in the universe. Everything moves. Even your cup, okay, on the micro scale, the atoms, they are moving, but they are inner joined by a van der Waals forces good enough for it to look for you as something solid to touch and feel, but this is vibrating all the time. For example, when we actually design stuff in engineering wise, one of the things that we do vibration analysis, and we do it to know the exact frequency in which the device can encounter and can fall apart. For example, if I design some part to hold the motor, and I know that in a certain speed it can vibrate to go to a self vibration, the whole device can separate from itself just because I didn't took into account that in this speed the molecules can release themselves and enough force to break the whole system. And therefore, we need a method and accuracy in measuring devices to count on them. And we don't use fluids to measure stuff. As he gave interesting example, we can use fluids and connect them to have a level between two things, but still it wouldn't give us an output of something that we measure.
Well, yeah, like I say, when you get onto the micro scale, yeah, there's micrometers, micro scale, and then the cool thing is everything vibrates. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, but not even micro scale. Even if you have, I don't know, I have my table in my room and I have the surface plate. The surface plate, when it is cut by a machine, the machinist needs to know, or the wood guy, how much freedom of tolerance I allow him, because when he does the cutting, it also gives pressure on the surface, which can change the final dimension of the object, because again, it is vibrating and you need to know it even if you don't look at it with your eye, but it is still, your table needs to go somewhere, then even the table, you need a precision.
But don't they use fluids to make the most flat, leveless? I think
Never,
is it a mirror?
never.
What? Whoa! When they're making the super high, flat, straight mirrors, they have a fluid, a special fluid they're using to keep it level. You've never seen that done?
They may be using to keep it level, as you said, but flat level doesn't mean flat in engineering wise. Like I explained, I maybe have needed to show a drawing, but in engineering we have ways to ensure that the product fits our final result is always repeatable. So I may use, wait a second, Steve. I may use in a product in the process something like water jet or just water to smooth the surface, but in the end I will still use measuring tool like the plunger or a dial or a CMM in CNC, which is a robot that pushes on the material, because it will give me an output, a number that I can compare and know if the table is good enough for me or not, if the mirror is good enough. Like you build a telescope, okay, you need highly precision, so you need measuring tool in the end, not fluid.
So in that field that you work in, do you guys all agree that flat or level curves? You guys all agree on that?
Yes, but again, for the manufacturing of parts, there are different demands, okay, that we measure and we do, so we will know that the parts can work together and stuff. And between all the different forms and functions that we put in the drawing, there is nothing that is called level, only flatness or straightness of something to be compared with the desired result.
Yeah, the elevation above the point, the data point.
Yeah, level matters for construction in general, but even that, after the builder does leveling with laser, if it has to have some type of machine that moves or engages stuff, what matter is straightness, circularity, parallel, vertically stuff. No, we don't have definition. We don't use level in mechanical at all. Because even if you say level, it has no meaning, engineering-wise. I hope it helps you to better understand, and I'm not just mumbling about stuff that people... Does anyone want to ask a question? It doesn't supposed to be exactly about that. I'm fine with everything, or I think OBL 8 or something.
But level curves, right?
Level curves. If you're just talking about this word in the definition, yes. If if we're talking about the spirit level, it's something else. Level curves, because there is no smooth, perfect surface. Like you always would have demand for how rough you want something to be, but in general, level is just converting to gravity. Omni, can you put the guy, also Matthias, I think, is trying to get in.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry.
So first was Auniville.
Yeah. I'll get Anvil in and Matthias. Sorry, guys. I didn't see those pop up.
I'll let Matthias go first because I'm in agreement with Agent, but I'd like to ask the depth gauge using something extremely precise. But I do agree that perfect flatness seems very difficult because of molecular structure and atoms to begin with.
Yeah. Are you asking what device we use?
Yeah, I was thinking of like using a metal plate that's been machined flat with very high tolerances and submerging it and seeing how well the water level is to the metal plate.
So I don't know if I can screen share it, but usually, I don't know, in aerospace industry, let's say, you make a part out of aluminum and you want it to fit with some part and move together very closely, like you would put it and it will be straight away. Then you have some crazy tolerance and you're asking, what device do I use? It is called coordinate measuring machine, which is basically a robot that you put the part in, and the part is on a plate, and the plate is on top of mini devices that know to level themselves. So the plate itself will be level, and then your part is on top of it, and you code the machine for against your actual model in SolidWorks or whatever, and it goes and it checks and
Yeah,
you will
from
be
what you're
amazed.
describing
It
sounds like
It works.
a
It works
advanced
just like a.
milling machine of some variety that would
It works
make
just. It
the
works just
tolerance
like a.
very high for
It
that
works just like a
object.
theodolite.
Like a CNC device with a highly pressure
Doesn't it work
tip
just
on
like a
the end.
theodolite? Doesn't it work just like a theodolite? Like you'll take it and you'll take a reading at one data point, then you pick it up, move it to the next point.
No. It
What do you
has
mean?
nothing to. It has nothing to
That's
do
how
with this.
theodolite works. Just like they work
No, but
identical.
no.
Yes,
When
they
you
do.
do,
The way you're describing it, you're telling me you're taking a reading, and then
I'm
you get
taking
that
a
established.
reading.
You're getting a
I'm
reading. You get a reading. You have a data point, right? So that's going to be your base, your starting point, right? You got to have a starting point no matter when you do something, right? And so then you're going to
I-
move it to double check your accuracy when you're building an elevator.
no. Okay, Steve, no. Let's stop there. When you need a high accuracy, like he asked, okay, it very depends on the drawing, okay, because this machine can also be in a space that it will move the part according to the robot that needs to measure it. Sometimes it can be on axis. Sometimes you don't care about certain spots on, let's say it's a big shaft. You care about the accuracy only in the middle of the shaft because you want to put a bearing. So the robot will go around the shaft and take all the spots at the same time, and then it will give you an output in the computer if it is circular enough, if it is flat enough. It will give you lots of types of information together at the same time just by the tip and the pressure on it, and it will not go point to point. Point to point isn't
Well,
good enough.
yeah, but the
It
same
is not
thing.
like that.
Yeah, but no, you're saying the same thing. You just have more measurements, but you're still doing the same thing. You're constantly measuring it from that data point, making sure you
Yeah,
have the same
if you
same
just
accuracy. That's
yes,
how
I just
theodolite works. Theodolite works the same way. You set it up, establish a HI there or a data point,
yes, but
and then move it and establish. Because you already got the one, then you can go get yourself another one, and you can just keep going with data points for the
which is
theodolite,
fine. We can agree that all devices
and they'll be straight line.
eventually allow you to measure stuff. Therefore, they are called measuring devices. He asked about this specific case when I need a crazy machine. So the answer
Yeah.
is just that we use some kind of a robot that knows the coordinates, knows
Yeah,
how to balance the part in free space to
I
make
agree with you.
sure.
Yeah, I agree
Uh,
with you. But I'm just saying, I agree with I agree 100% what you're saying. They work just like a theodolite. Any measuring tool, they start with a
okay,
data point.
I want to make sure that Ovil. Do,
Go ahead. Yeah,
okay,
somebody else.
do you want to
Go
ask
ahead.
something else?
Yeah, I was going to add a while ago. You presented a picture of a spirit
You
level.
Ovil?
So,
Okay.
um,
I think Matthias wants to ask something.
yeah, I was in the middle
That's
of
fine.
talking.
You can talk, I think, because he.
Can you hear me? No?
Yeah, we hear you. Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, a while ago you brought up a visual aid of a spirit level. Was you trying to insinuate that the water inside that spirit level wasn't level?
Omni, I'm going for a second to take a drink. Meanwhile, try to fix with him the audio.
Okay.
Okay.
What are we trying to fix here? What are you trying to show?
I'm not trying to show anything. I'm talking about what.
No, I
him
think he's trying to talk, but he is not talking.
I hear him. You can't. I can hear him fine.
He's probably got me on mute.
Ah, wait. Wait, let me check. I will get back in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, he's probably either got me on mute or my volume turned down from previous experiences or something. Because
Okay.
I don't know.
I only have a familiarity with milling machines, probably not to the precision that aerospace might require, but it seems like machine flat could be compared to water level by using some kind of depth gauge, but the precision of how to scan the difference between that flat granite with that highly tolerance thing would
Well,
would
the
be
amount
something.
of curve that you're going to get over anything of any possible size is going to be in the microns. I mean, over the size of a bathtub, you've got like an atom of curvature.
Accuracy, we're talking about. Yeah, well, yeah. All we're talking about is accuracy. Like
Yeah.
building
So-
a Swiss watch.
Yeah, well, but on the other hand, over a half mile, of water, if you have a half mile long pool, then you do have to take actions in order to.
Yeah, that's what the theodolite does. That's what we were talking about with the straight line, level, straight, that type of measurement. They don't curve. That's what we were talking. But you guys seem to think that level curves. When if I set up a theodolite, I'm going to shoot straight and level. I'm going to maintain that straight and level position. I'm never going to deviate from it. And I might have to because of elevation change, but I'm still going to have the same elevation platform from vertical or from horizontal. It'll all be measured from the original horizontal. So if I'm 2 feet higher, I'll establish that and carry, just take that with me as I go down the measuring tool. It's not going to curve.
So I'm back. I want to share my screen.
Can you hear me now?
Just to quickly go over this point because I see an interest in engineering, okay, of anything, literally anything. We have a common language between everyone to understand how things work and how should they fit together or be manufactured. I opened the simple website just to show what matters to us. Usually, when we make a drawing of a part or assembly or anything, we care about flatness. We can measure the flatness and we care about straightness, okay, which is two concepts. I showed flatness before and what it means. You can see if we compare two planes, in reality, it would look something like that. It's not to scale, but it will be not perfectly smooth. And we can check this. And we do this so we would know that stuff can work. In reality, saying that something is flat, it is a relative term because our eye isn't a measuring tool. If there is some curvature or lack of smoothness or roughness is the right term in engineering, our eye isn't able to resolve it. So it doesn't matter if we look at a fluid or a solid, there is always some kind of inaccuracy within a tolerance. And what I also wanted to show in this page, there is no level. Level isn't engineering term. If you ask any engineer, okay, how you describe your art, never ever, nobody cares about level.
Yeah, you'd be talking about building like microchips, right, for computers. Yeah, you'd have them nice and smooth.
I designed anything that you can imagine, from product lines to rotating devices.
We don't disagree with you. We agree with you.
Okay, I'm just, if this is the question.
When you start talking about microscopic type of accuracy, it's got to be in order to work.
Can M Agent hear me?
It is not microscopic.
Can you hear Matthias?
I want to. Yeah, I hear Matthias, but it is very important for me to clarify for you that microscopic is a scale that you see with a microscope, okay? And I'm talking just about stuff that can even happen with a ruler or a micrometer, which is pure mechanical device that just presses on a surface, and you can have because let's say you take a ruler, you can measure a millimeter with a ruler, and if I demand 0.1 millimeters, which is usually most of the parts as initial assumption that we give on the drawing, this is very not microscopic. This is something that happens in real life. Okay, your table.
Yeah, a lot of times you use micrometers.
Your table right now has a roughness of surface of 0.8 millimeter. You cannot see it with your eye, but this is not microscopic at all.
Yeah, well, it's still, we're just talking about super accurate measurements is all you're talking about.
We don't call it super accurate. It is not even there. Super accurate is, I don't know, if you make a wafer of nanochips, then you need some device with a lamp to measure the spaces between the atoms. But in just like cups, a microphone, table, all those things, even if it doesn't look to you, we measure everything because we try to create repeatable stuff. Even if we make a beam, we still give a tolerance of even, let's say I have a 6 meter beam, I can have a tolerance of 10 millimeters when then any worker can measure it. It is not considered to be accurate. It's considered to be very inaccurate, but you still need to make sure because it wouldn't fit your house or something. And I hear Matthias, I think.
Yeah, go ahead, Matthias. Yeah, you're just measuring something. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you can hear me now?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. A while ago, you presented a spirit level. Was you trying to insinuate that the fluid in there wasn't level? And that it was water inside the spirit level? Because if so, that's wrong. What a spirit level had, the fluid inside of a spirit level is actually alcohol. And they use alcohol inside of a spirit level to prevent freezing in the wintertime. I also have an objection. I think you misconflated a spirit level tool with a water level tool, which I presented in the chat. What a water level tool is. My other objection is you said about 5 minutes ago that your eyes are not a measuring tool. I beg to differ. Whenever people go to the lumber yard to pick out 2x4s.
Wait,
They do what's known as
wait.
crowning.
Do you want point by point, maybe, to make it more?
I'm just trying to get all the objections out before you start
Okay,
monologuing.
I can write them. I can write. Okay.
Yep. Back to my third objection. You said that eyes aren't a measuring tool. I beg to differ. Once again, whenever people go to pick out lumber, such as 2x4s, a 12-foot 2x4 at the lumber yard, they do what's known as crowning, which is they eyeball from
Sure.
one end
You can
down
eyeball
to the
stuff.
other.
Can.
Right, to pick out, the straightest board, make sure it ain't warped and whatnot. The other objection to that is, if you are in construction for many years, and I know people that have done this, they can pretty much pinpoint. We call it eagle eyeing in the construction field. They can pretty much pinpoint, down to the, oh, that's 2 3/8 inches off, off of level to the other one. And 90% of the time they're dead on. Once again, you can break it down to the microscopic level if you want, but that's just like a Bevite argument that's pretty gay, if you ask me. But
Okay. So what I understand from you, and correct me in any point, we don't want gay arguments. Okay.
yeah,
The first point was that spirit level uses a different fluid than water.
correct. It uses alcohol to prevent freezing.
I agree.
Yeah, whenever you use that way, it prevents freezing. Whenever the construction worker is, using the spirit level in cold temperatures such as winter.
I agree. Okay.
Right.
So why did I mention spirit level in this context, and why did you watch from the beginning of my presentation?
I just came in probably 30 minutes ago.
Okay. You care if I show you from the start? Because there is a bit of context.
I'm just wondering
Do
why.
you see my presentation?
I'm just wondering why you used a spirit level for your argument instead of a water level for your argument.
Because indeed, in my presentation, I asked the question, can water be evidence for a shape of an object? And you are correct. My actual statement should be, can fluid be evidence or a measuring tool for a shape of an object? So any fluid is not acceptable by me or anyone that understand what a measuring tool is for the sake of determining pretty much anything. Okay, so in your case, I don't know why does it help us that the spirit level has another fluid. Any fluid converts to gravity.
Now, if you want to believe in gravity, then that's your personal choice.
Okay, so what I also said, okay, we can leave the gravity alone, okay, but flat earthers say that fluid lay flat when they're at rest, and this is what I don't quite agree. Okay, fluids in rest. I don't know if you see my presentation, but it will help you.
That I'm just saying, have you ever heard me say that? And it seems like you're trying to straw man every flat earther with just what a couple newbie flat earthers have said.
Okay, so what I did in the beginning, I showed Eric Dubé, Mark Sargent, and Mikey Smith.
Yeah, they're all controlled opposition, by the way. So I mean, if you want
Okay.
to use controlled opposition
So
as your debunking flat Earth proof, I mean, you have the right to do that.
no, I don't want to debunk flat Earth right now. I want to agree. I want to agree with a flat earther that using water cannot be part of the evidence or our discussions when we talk about the shape of the Earth. This is what I wanted to achieve.
Okay, you said that these three people have claimed this, yet those three people are not in the server. It's like you're grasping for straws. Can I give you my position?
Of course.
Right. So my position would be unmanipulated bodies of water, right? Instead of just water, and
Okay.
instead of just and instead of a water droplet. Yeah, we all know what a water droplet is. It's flat. It's kind of spherical shape. So that's why I chose my words wisely. Unmanipulated bodies of water.
Finish the
level.
sentence.
Yeah, our level. You know, Pascal's principle demonstrates this, by the way.
Okay,
Right?
level is converting to gravity.
Well, once again, you said you was going to say the hell with gravity and not use it. So now I have to ask you, what is gravity?
Okay, so you're choosing, okay, to not understand me. It doesn't matter how
What do you
big
mean?
is the water.
I asked you a question.
Let's break it down.
No,
Okay? Okay? You said
what is gravity?
bodies.
Invoke
You
it.
said bodies of water.
I asked you, what is
Uh,
gravity? And
lay.
you haven't answered that question yet. Why is that?
God. I can answer it. No problem. But I want to repeat your statement so we'll be on the same page. Okay, so first of all, gravity is a force within our reality, which is good enough to explain stuff. Second
Well,
thing,
now
bodies
you're
of water
Newtonian gravity, which
lay
is
level.
now you're invoking Newtonian gravity, which is superseded by Einsteinian gravity in the early 1900s, which Einstein claimed that gravity does not exist at all. So
Matisse,
why are you invoking a 200, 300-year-old outdated pseudoscience theory of gravity, claiming that gravity is a force?
It is
okay,
not
so
superseded.
no, don't say that.
So there's two different allow me. So
I
there's
want
two
to
different
I want to
theories.
please let's remain on point. My point, okay? You see my presentation?
You done asked me that? I've already answered. Do you want me to answer it again?
I want you to see it right now.
Yeah, it says what FE people say. And once again, you're
water finite level.
in this paper per se
Okay.
allegedly said.
Okay. So what I
about that?
Okay, what I need to understand is how water being level, which we both agree upon, okay, large lakes, bodies of water, indeed, in rest, without any other action, remain level. But it doesn't tell us anything about the shape of the Earth. This is what I want to remove. Just this fact alone. And then in another event, we can debate the shape of the Earth if you want. Can you agree with me that knowledge about level isn't directly connected to the shape of the Earth?
I can agree that level was never curved. Yet you guys want to choose to believe that because, you know, it's what your indoctrination, as you tried to project on us a while ago. It's your indoctrination that made you believe that level can curve.
Okay, my presentation is about measuring tools. Okay, and one of the things that you said is that you don't like the fact that I said that I isn't a measuring tool.
That what?
You
Oh, yeah.
said
Oh, okay, the eye.
my eyeball isn't a measuring tool.
Well, I
Okay,
already done that with two different scenarios. One was called crowning, and one that you have if you have many experience in the years of
let's call
construction,
it
your
experience.
eyes are indeed a measuring tool, right down to the eighth of an inch, 16th of an inch. So
Okay, let's call it, for the sake of the talk, experience in guessing how curved something is using the eye. Okay, is it good enough?
you completely disregarded the statement after that about the crowning. Yeah, you're talking about crowning, which I gave two examples. One of them was crowning. You know, you eyeball down the 2x4 to see if it's straight. You want the straightest boards in construction. And then I gave you the second example, which was years of construction work. Your eyes can be a measuring tool down to the 16th of an inch.
Okay,
I'm not saying, I'm not, once again, this refers to kind of smaller objects, not,
okay. So
long
do
objects.
you let's focus. Do you agree if I take two different people, even with the same experience, I can get different results?
With my second example, like I said a while ago, about 90% of the time, the experienced construction worker can get the right
He will
measurement.
tell me what?
Down,
He will tell me measurement of what?
I can finish a sentence and make my point without interruption. Is it my turn yet? Cool. Yeah, once again, I said a while ago, about 90% of the time, if not more, the experienced construction worker can measure objects down to the 16th of an inch. You know, I've seen it done,
Correct.
and I
I
know
heard
people that
you.
done it. So
I heard you. 16 of inch of what?
a 16th of an inch.
Of length of the beam of what? What are you measuring with your
Any
eye?
small object. Okay, one object was a rod about 2 feet long. It wasn't
Great.
exactly
Okay,
2 feet. My
okay,
inexperience at the time said, "Oh, that's about 2 inches or 2 feet, John." And John said he just kind of snickered at me because he knew he had years of experience. He just kind of snickered at me. He's like, "No, no, Matthias, that's less than 2 feet." I was like, "Well, how can you tell?" He's like, "I've got years experience and can eagle eye it." He calls it eagle eye, and so therefore at that time he got it right, and therefore I called him
right.
eagle eye.
So the meme talks about using a fluid to get a measurement of flatness of something. Using two people cannot be a measuring tool because of the following reasons. There is no reference point, okay? There is no accuracy, there is no output or display, and it is mainly guessing, okay? When we use a measuring tool, we want accuracy, we want a qualification method, therefore, using your eye isn't a measuring tool.
Well, once again, you just completely ignored both of my points, but I guess we'll just skip past that because I don't want to really hear you just deny reality
No,
and whatnot. Your visual aid also says water is not a measuring tool. Once again, you brush past the point that a water level tool, not a spirit level, but a water level tool, consists of a tube that you fill with water. This is in construction, by the way.
yes.
You know what a water level tool is?
This presentation
Do
is
you know what
designed
a level tool is?
this presentation is designed to show that you're so indoctrinated in your religion that you will not even try and think about what I'm saying when it comes to measuring tools. Okay?
Once again, that's a personal
Measuring tool is
because
something
I didn't
to
told you,
measure stuff.
even showed you
You
what water level tool is. It's the water level tool. Have you ever heard of it? Yes or no?
okay, okay.
Not
So
a
do you
spirit level.
concede that eye isn't
Once
a
again,
tool? Do you understand that using your
okay,
eye
we were gonna
isn't a
brush
tool?
past that because you denied my fucking 2 points that I made earlier. So we're gonna brush past that. Let's see it. And now I'm gonna ask you: have you ever heard of a water level tool? Not a spirit level, but a water level tool. Have you ever heard of one or seen one? Yes or no?
We were talking about the
Yes or
spirit level.
no? It's a yes or no question, dude. If you
Dude,
don't
this
have the
is my
humility to
event.
say I don't know or
This is
no,
my
then,
event.
oh my God.
Unless you're interested to hear my answer, you can move along.
It's a
Okay?
simple yes or no question that you have not answered yet in the last 2 minutes. You refuse to answer it for some odd reason. Probably because
I
it
find
debunks
it
the
cute
fucking
when
visual aid
flat
that you have
earthers
up on the
try to
screen.
take over the conversation.
Yeah.
Matthias, okay, you gave me points. I wrote them down. I explained to you why we are talking about measuring tools, why I
Yeah.
talk about the spirit level, which I have experience in it with it, unlike you. And I told
I'm a
you it
fucking
doesn't
carpenter,
matter another
dude.
fluid because
I'm a
all I'm
carpenter.
trying to
The
say
fucking spirit
is
level,
that
I'm a fucking
something
guy.
isn't a measuring tool. Then you told me a person can measure a length of a beam after 5 years of experience or whatever, which I don't actually care about because when you design stuff and you want to measure stuff, you need a repeatability and a reference point. A percent isn't a reference point, and you cannot concede to that. So I don't
Yeah,
feel
once
like
again, I
you
was in
are able
construction
to
for
have
7
this
fucking years.
conversation.
Yeah, once again, I was in construction for 7 fucking years. Pretty much used the fucking spirit level. Yeah, pretty much used the
Yeah,
spirit level tool
yeah,
about every day of my fucking life. Thank you for the interruption. I let you fucking sit there and monologue, telling me, "Oh,
yeah,
you never used the spirit level." Whenever I know good and damn well I have for 7
yeah.
fucking years. Yeah.
If you worked with me, I would
brush
fire
past.
your ass. Yes.
Meanwhile, you want to brush past the point that a water level tool, which is not a fucking spirit level, you want to keep resorting to spirit level for fucking some odd fucking reason. Probably because it debunks your fucking visual aid that you had up on the fucking screen 5 minutes ago. Water is not a tool to make sure it's level. Yeah, that tells me right there that you've never even heard of a water level tool, dude.
Water gives you orientation. It doesn't
Do a
give
quick
you.
Google search right quick and show some humility and come back and eat crow. Insert on the Google search water level tool. And then
No,
go look at the fucking image. No, I don't want to concede to my fucking ignorance. Right?
you need to
Seriously.
chill,
It's a
dude.
fucking 2-second Google search that proves you fucking wrong, dude. Yet you don't even have the fucking humility to even do a 2-second Google search and come back and eat some fucking crow. Said, yes, Matthias, you are correct. The water level tool is not the exact same as the fucking spirit level tool.
It's the exact same shit. It doesn't matter.
I even posted you a water level
gives you.
tool image in the fucking text chat, dude. Like 30
Okay.
minutes ago, whenever you fucking said.
Okay, Matthias. Now you shut. Now you chill down. You chill
Now
down.
you go fuck yourself,
Okay.
you little bitch.
You. Okay. Okay. Leveling tool isn't a measuring tool. Thank you. That's it.
Is
Therefore,
that
it is
because
called.
there's no increments along the water gauge to tell you its height? You use a different measuring tool to give you those increments?
I explained before because we don't in at least in engineering or in science we don't care about how stuff are leveled. Okay, we cannot measure a tangent line. It doesn't give us any information about anything. It is just fluid that provides us orientation. I don't even know how to repeat this idea. We must have an output of something that we can compare it to. Okay, like
Yeah, and that those if you have those plumb sticks in the ground and they have the increments with the measurements, you can raise the water level to that increment, but the water itself doesn't have increments. What it sounded like you're saying earlier.
yes, we can make a bypass measurement, like you said, to give us height, but because the physical nature of water, I cannot ensure the droplet will remain even at the same height to give me some kind of output. As he said, you would have to eyeball it. Okay, I don't know a device that can, like, you can put a number next to it, but it will be still useless. It
And
is
the
good.
eyeball measurement seems to be like a familiarity with like an actual increment ruler. So you've looked at 2.5 inches for like 20 years and you go, I'm very familiar with that. So it's based on increments. Your eyeball measurement is based off your previous measurements by actually looking at the ruler and comparing it to the object with your eye over time.
Right. Therefore, I was trying to tell him that we use tools. We don't use humans. We cannot guarantee anything. But I think he didn't see the first part of the conversation. And what's my general issue? My general issue is just that people keep saying water remains. They say now flat, but they used to say level, and it doesn't say anything. And so surprisingly, I could not even get. Besides Steve, I could get Steve. I think agreed with me that something is wrong with those memes, at least. But I don't know. Any other questions?
Yeah, for that gauge that's looking at the texture of that smooth granite, you couldn't put that really through water to get its flatness because it would conform around the needle. That would affect the gauge. Yeah.
Yeah. We again, we don't we don't measure fluids. I cannot go to my manufacturer and tell him, bro, I need a fluid in this height and so on. No, I make solid stuff. We don't measure volume of gases without container. Same. Like, if I already have the container of the fluid, so I don't need to measure. And this is not even going about the bonding between the tip of the material to the material itself. You have like soft materials that you have issues to measure, and you can get to certain roughness with certain techniques.
Yeah, I think that's why I linked the laser sort of guided simultaneous scan. It would be interesting to do a zenith scan of a lake to see how level is different to idealistic flatness using that kind of laser precision.
Also, to be honest, when you make a part, you try to do it as cheap as possible. So unless you need something to be flat, which usually doesn't really matter unless I don't know, you put some keyway inside a shaft to transform a force to another object, you rarely would even want to make like demand for it, because each requirement that you do is like more money, more time, more inspection. So we rely on the manufacturing method from before to tell us sometimes how smooth something would be. I think I killed it, and there is no flat earthers. And we... Anyone, or we okay? I can also do about specific things in engineering if you want. I will prepare another thing, but this was the flatness in flat earth. But what do you think? Is that the most stupid evidence that they use?
I haven't seen somebody make like a 3-mile large disc of flat tolerance of 0.01 millimeters. But I don't think that's necessary to show that water level and flatness are different.
I don't know if you saw in the beginning, flat earthers are still using the claim, like Matthias here, before he was kicked. He said, bodies of water lay flat, therefore flat earth. And this is, I think, was the topic that I was trying to kill. Saying water means anything about the shape of an object means you're batshit crazy and indoctrinated into a flat earth.
And that stems from like superficial analysis of like your bathtub or something. It looks pretty flat enough for me for this purpose.
Yeah, the guy from before told us that he can guess the length of a beam after experience, and I wouldn't trust a walker like that. Like, dude, take a roller out and just measure the beam or the wood or whatever he said. Like he couldn't even concede to the fact that you don't use your eye to know how big something is. So thanks everyone for listening. I hope it helped you. It was interesting. At least it was entertaining for me. I will edit this and upload this in my channel. And you're all invited to check my channel, Misinformation Agent. And Omni, you can close, I think.
Great. Okay. I will close.